Game begin.
Hello and welcome to the Spike Calling Podcast. I am here with New York second place finisher Michael J. Flores.
One better than last time. Yeah.
He went 5th through 8 last time. Like I think
I
it's
finished
it's exceedingly lame for you to lose in the round of 8 and
has
try to
third. I received 4 gold bordered brush lands. Please don't take away my flowers. They are featured on 4 gold bordered brush lands.
flowers on breakers.
I lost in the finals to SWB.
What'd you play, Mike?
I played 1 card off of the burn deck that I had most recently done a 3-0 with. So it was an excellent change on my part that I think you would approve. I removed 1 lava dart and I added 1 red elemental blast. And there's my thought process. I'm like, I just have plenty of cards that I want to bring in against, like, I thought I was going to play goblins in the quarters, right? So plenty of cards against goblins, and also, like, because I call the herd, you know? And I hate Lava Dart in that matchup. Like, I always have sided Lava Dart in against goblins, but it's just, like, pretty good against Goblin Lackey and, like, pretty medium in, like, every other situation against goblins. It's just like, what are you going to do? Like, dart a Mog Fanatic? Like, it's just, like, half of their card for, you know, a card. It's, like, kind of shitty.
Darting a lava darting a Mog Fanatic is, like, very good. By the way,
it is very good if you need to set up your ball lightning, but it's kind of like, it's just not a good exchange, Lanny. Like, it's a full card for a ping. It's just not. It's not good.
It's really good. Like, it's not to set up ball lightning. It's to set up your entire deck. It sets up Jackal Pup, ball lightning, and Grim Lavamancer, and your own Mog Fanatic to, like, hold off the Goblin Sharpshooter. Like,
obviously, you would do it, right? Nobody's excited by this exchange. I don't know. We're gonna sit here.
Don't get me wrong.
What I would about how this is really good. I would obviously do it.
I would love to do is to just cast Earthquake instead.
Okay, so as I have all.
But you're playing. You glossed over it, but you're playing red green burn.
Yeah. So I have, like, 1 Price of Progress on my main deck, 3 Sulfuric Vortex in my main deck.
Yeah, you have the forest in your sideboard and 6
plenty of lands, no baubles. Sorry, Ola. Really sorry, Aaron. But sorry, Ola. No baubles in this build. And in the quarters, I played against Matt M. I thought he was going to be on. I thought he was, like, you know, it's 75% goblins, like 15% some sort of the rock, and 10% to the field. He was on mono black Chain of Smog deck, and our match was super close. I made a mistake in game 1. So, like, he had a Plague Spitter, and I just sent my guys into it knowing it was going to die. And so I had to sacrifice all my Seal of Fires that were in play so that I could get an activation on my Grim Lavamancer. And then, like, I did everything, and then I just forgot to use the Grim Lavamancer, and I won by 2 points. And it like, you know, it's really hard to describe burn against pit rack decks and, like, make it seem like strategic or anything. Like, this is just like a fist fight, like, and nobody's blocking in the fist fight. You know, like, in fact,
yeah, both players are just playing cards off the top.
I mean, you're sending Jackal Pup into the Hypnotic Spectre and eating the 2 points, right? And they're gladly blocking the Jackal Pup, you know, on a 3 mana to 1 mana exchange. It's like, it's very hard to describe this in any way that's just like, oh, this is interesting. The interesting thing is that I fucked up, right? It's if I just didn't miss that 2 points, I would have won. I would have won by, like,
this is like famously a matchup that everyone feels is, like, extremely lopsided in favor of burn, and you're, like, the only burn player that has ever described this as, like, close or interesting.
So close, and I'm playing the green version with Call of the Herd. I'm telling you, this is such a close matchup. Game 2, I drew 3 naturalized. They all got their money. You know, I got a rack, a curse scroll, and another curse scroll, and I couldn't beat the 3rd curse scroll. So we were, you know, he goes first turn duress. I think my only spell in my hand was Curse Scroll. He took it, and then he had, you know, Plague Spitter for all the cards in my hand that weren't Curse Scroll, if you know what I mean. And then he won game 2 by a mile. Game three, I won by a mile. But like, it's really hard to like. It's just not interesting, right? Like, I had like a fast draw, and like I think I had like Grim Lavamancer double Jackal Pup on the play in game 3. I think I was on like a mull to 6, and like he's like I could have played Plague Spitter. He had like a very big turn too, which was like Ritual Stupor the Rack, which was really, really good. I think he basically emptied me there. So like, maybe I should have played Plague Spitter. I'm like, yeah, you would have taken lethal damage because, you know, you take your own damage from Plague Spitter. I send in, activate the Grim Lavamancer once, top deck Fire Blast, because at the end of the game, I had 2 Fire Blasts in my hand. So anyway, it's super just a fist fight, and nobody's blocking in this fist fight. Like, if you look at like old UFC footage and like somebody's covering their face while somebody's punching you in the face, no, both guys are just punching each other in the face, no blocks. Like that's, and so I think people who are like, oh, Burn is favored like so much. I think on the numbers, when you look at like the sum total of all the games, yes, Burn wins more than Pit Rack does, but you are kidding yourself if you think this is a quote unquote good matchup. I think I'd rather play against Dreadnought. Like you're completely out of control, right? Like they just go, you know, turn 2 Chain of Smog. You throw it back and they just don't care, right? Like they're discarding cards that like discard a Snuff Out. Like they're just never going to cast that anyway. And like you're just empty, and they have the Rack. The Rack is just like lightning bolt every turn. It's so bad. And then their creatures are better than yours, right? They're like Skittering Scourge and Hypnotic Spectre. If you don't kill them, they're just going to rule the battlefield and rip up your hand. And killing them is not trivial because they just emptied your hand with Chain of Smog. Like it also screws up your resources, right? Like if you have to discard land, man, you top deck a Ball Lightning, you can't cast it now, then it like dies to one of their discard cards the next turn. Anyway, I won. And I was really glad that I didn't play Replenish, which was a deck that you had recommended that I play, because he had Megrim in his sideboard. So if you ever think about like Attunement versus Megrim, yikes. Because I mean, but we had a scout with him on Goblins. Obviously,
I have like a few counterpoints to that. Like one, normally you can set yourself up to just like win after activating Attunement. 2, Megrim is an enchantment, so it dies to like all the cards in your deck. 3, the typical game plan against a Pit Rack style deck is to just put your enchantments into play, which they're never capable of removing. So it's like, I don't know, was he playing a ritual deck or no?
Yes, a ritual deck.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, Ritual Gloom Skittering Scourge is probably like a lot scarier than Megrim, because like also if you consider that our replenished deck has only Attunement as the card that says discard a card on it. So like he's boarding in 2B enchantment. If you draw Attunement, you can't activate it if you're at 8 life. Right.
Honestly, I don't know if I would have Attunement in my deck against a discard deck, right?
Yeah, so that's like the other thing. I mean, I will say that if you are playing Replenish against black decks, like it is good to have 0 cards in hand and Attunement on the battlefield and all your stuff in your graveyard, because then you get 4 looks a turn at Replenish. It's like this is right, like very specifically like a like bottomless pit, like black deck sit on my hands like interaction, where it's like if the only thing they're doing is like attacking you with Mistress Factory every turn, then you know, then you can just spin Attunement every turn, like because the way these games go is normally like both players have nothing, and then the black player is like has a Mistress Factory or Curse Scroll, like whatever, and generally that equates to like a 3 or 4 turn clock, and 3 or 4 turns with Attunement means you get like, you know, 12 looks at Replenish, and once you resolve Replenish, there's nothing they can do to stop you.
So that's not true. Matt M had Phyrexian Furnace, which he cast against me, you know, to slow down. I mean, it actually didn't do anything in that game because I didn't draw Grim Lavamancer that game, and my deck doesn't have.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if they hit you with if they hit you with like the Duress Chain of Smog, you know, if they hit you with Duress Chain of Smog into like Phyrexian Furnace, and you only have 1 Attunement or whatever, like, you know, obviously they have recourse, like, you know, they can put you in a similar spot with Wither Wretch, but you're also asking a deck with like no card draw to put together like a very specific house of cards to stop you from just having like an Opalescence and Parallax Wave in play. Because like the other thing is Opal Wave is deterministic against these black decks, unless for some reason they can like race you with exactly the rack and curse scroll.
I mean, just provided you have enough mana to snipe a Gloom the first time. I think that's because that's the thing. Like Opal Wave is actually slowed down by Gloom.
Yeah. But that's the thing. So look, this is what I'm saying. It's just like, would you rather be the player that if they have Gloom, you can get to 7 mana and cast Replenish, right? You can just like loot and cast Replenish. But always like, okay, then you're like, okay, well, what if they have Gloom and Wither Wretch? It's like, okay, well, then you have to like 4 mana Swords of Plowshares, the Wither Wretch, and then you have to like replenish. Or it's like, but if they don't have any of those cards, then you win. If they have one of those cards, you have like a way to win. That's like pretty trivial. So
let me answer it this way.
And I also want to I want to emphasize that I think Megrim is like such a non-card against Replenish. I wouldn't even board it in.
Okay, so
that's like for survival players, I'm pretty sure.
My initial thought was that Megrim was bad, but then I was like, in the sideboarded games, I'm probably not going to have a tune in my deck, so it's probably irrelevant. So I think I agree with you there. I would say this: you think of Replenish as one of the highest agency decks, right? It's like
I do not think of that. I once compared this deck to Oathponza because I was like, you literally have no choice of what to card. Right, because we talked about it. I was like, all your cards come at sorcery speed.
I have Factor Fictions and a bunch of counterspells in my deck.
Whatever. Like that's like cosplaying, right? As like a blue-white control deck because
it is.
You're
like my sailor suit.
Yeah, you basically are like sometimes like you feel like a control deck because you're like, ooh, I'm going to hold a counterspell. If I don't counterspell, I'm going to Factor Fiction, and then I'm going to like cast Parallax Tide with Seal of Cleansing. And then you're doing all of the cards that like the blue-white Tide control decks, and you're like, oh, I just have Parallax Wave instead of Wrath of God, like whatever against whatever. To me, the fact of the matter is, like, you have these cards in your hand, and like they don't like do a lot of like different things that it's like, oh, if my opponent does this, then I'm gonna do this, because you're sort of at any endpoint, you're locked into the sequence that's like this is like the agency that I see. The agency I see is like, on one hand, you can play like the Tide control game where you like Seal Tide or Stifle Tide somebody, and then that's kind of like a jujitsu, like moves and counter moves. But like every other game is just like, oh, how do I get the shit in my graveyard or the shit into play? And then most of the time your options are like extremely limited. Like you'll have like a hand with 2 intuitions. So you're like, okay, first intuition has to do this, the second one has to do this. If my opponent does something in between, maybe I have to cast an enchantment, I have to manage my fading counters. But like generally speaking, while I have often complained that the deck is sort of weird and difficult because your planning always has to be like multiple turns ahead. If your opponent has disenchants, you have to like do things in the opposite order than you think. You have to like count the clock and whatever. There's like a lot of things that you have to think of.
That sounds like agency, Lanny. That's not agency. To me, agency is like if you fuck up your sequence, you get punished.
That's getting out of check. That's literally just getting out of check. Because like if you only have one path to victory, then you don't have a choice, right? Like if you have multiple paths to victory, then choosing the best one, like maximizing your equity, that's one thing. But if you're sitting there and like I talk about this situation a lot, right? So you have a goblin's opponent, they have some random goblins in play. Maybe a war chief is like really threatening, but they have like 1 and a G up. So you're sitting there, you have Parallax Wave in your hand and Opalescence in your hand. If you cast Opalescence first, then you're going to take a hit, potentially a big hasted hit, and then you're going to cast Parallax Wave, and if they have Naturalize, they have to respond to the Parallax Wave by naturalizing the Opalescence. So then you exile all their creatures temporarily, and then you have to get that Opalescence back.
But it's a fog, not a wrath.
Exactly. If you do it in the opposite order, you can cast Parallax Wave first, you can exile the War Chief, but then once you cast Opalescence, they can disenchant the Parallax Wave in response, and then you have an Opalescence against...
Now you're just cooked. Yeah.
Potential haste, right? So... do you have agency in this scenario, choosing whether or not to cast Opalescence or Parallax Wave first? Is that the same kind of agency you express when you like choose to counterspell one thing, or Swords of Plowshares or another, or draw cards this turn instead of countering a spell or interacting? Like, to me, it doesn't feel like in that scenario you have agency. In that scenario, all you're trying to do is like like win the game. It's not like
I think
it's not like advance, right?
I think that Replenish is, of all the decks in pre-modern, the deck that has the most pronounced sub games where you're like, what is the red deck doesn't have really any sub games unless it's playing against a deck like Elves, right? If you're playing against Elves or Growatog without Armageddon or something like that, like your sub game could be just like, I resolved a Curse Scroll and a Grim Lavamancer, and I just get to this, which is like stage 2 out of 10, but my opponent is never going to get off the ground because I got to this sub game, and how I navigate stages 3 through 10 is kind of irrelevant, right? Because getting to the sub game was the game.
Right, which is
Like,
the Andy Levine like ideal Shahrazad deck where he's like, even if he's not playing Shahrazad, he's playing like mini Shahrazad, which is just getting Rishtun Port into play, and his sub game is like tapping as many lands. Like he's got a counter in his head, and he's just like, every port activation I tap is just like one util. It's like one life in my Shahrazad game, and eventually this is going to result in something.
But Replenish is like very rich in sub games, right? So obviously the Replenish full Monty or whatever is like, intuition, blah blah and blah. Pick up my attunement, cast a Replenish, it resolved. All your permanents go to the graveyard, and by the graveyard, I mean the exile zone, right? Like that's like the full Replenish. But you've got like, okay, if I'm Rich Shea, I might have, the 4 Parallax Tide, 2 Stifle build, or like most people have got like Parallax Tide plus Seal of Cleansing. By the way, I didn't even know about Parallax Tide plus Seal of Cleansing when I topped Ford LobsterCon that year. I think I only knew Parallax Tide plus Parallax Wave. Just side note, I didn't think I even knew about that play pattern, and I certainly didn't know about the Wall of Blossoms play pattern, even though I beat the Rock a bunch of times. So, that's how good Replenish is relative to how good I am. But that sub game. Then you have like, I think that the really safe sub game is the Enchantress game, right? Which is just like Opalescence Parallax Wave. There's a lot of matchups, especially in game 1, where once you reach that sub game, you nominally have to attack them 5 times, right?
That's not really a sub game though.
But like, you pretty much got it, right?
Like, like the crowd is applause is already like getting up, and you're just like, hey, I've got a couple more songs. Yeah, it's like they're like, oh, we already saw the hits. Like, you've got nothing left for us. This is my comment. No, this is like.
But when you say sub game, like you need to get what you're describing. I think in that Goblin situation is like, how do I position myself into which sub game is a question. When I was playing Replenish and I lost to Dave Kaplan, I was like, have whatever excuses I want, but like I was like playing on low sleep and everything. I literally chose the wrong sub game, right? I could have like forced Tide combo, but I was just like, I didn't do the math. This is a classic Landy Ho thing. It's just like, burn is never scary, right? And I'm like, how can you say burn is never scary? She says, because you actually know what the limits of their hand are. And I didn't do the math on the limits of Dave's hand. I'm like, okay, if I go for this line, yes, even if he has the Fire Blasts, I'm not dead.
Okay. This
right? Like, I chose the wrong sub game.
This is a great reason why I don't see Replenish as a high agency deck, because if you think about the reverse, you think about the opponent's position sitting across from a Replenish player. Replenish at its heart is a combo deck. The fact that it runs interactive blue spells, not particularly.
And white spells.
Yeah. Source Flasher, Seal of Cleansing. So if you are a like survival of the fittest opponent, or a like Terrageddon opponent, or an Enchantress opponent, or a red-green Oath Ponzo opponent, or I don't know. Actually, I can't think of a single deck that's sitting across the Replenish deck that doesn't have like crystal clear idea of like what its objectives should be. For most cases of the creature decks, it's just like kill your opponent before they can assemble anything, right?
Let me interrupt you. I'm going to lose this thought, so I'm going to interrupt you, and then I'll let you go through your thought. Is this a sub game? I think this is a sub game, right? I'm playing against Yosef in a fun game at League last week, right? So I was on Dreadnought, he was on Elves. I got the match, but he's just like, I'd like to practice this deck, right? So I get a Dreadnought combo. My Dreadnought's in play. I'm gonna, presumably kill him in one attack. He draws and resolves a survival of the fittest while I'm tapped out. Okay, so then he's just like, and he has a ton of land in play. Like he has like 3 or 5 land in play and two Wirewood symbiotes, right? And then a variety of other just like garbage elves, and he's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna go get the Nantuko Vigilante here. I mean, like, he didn't do the math. Like, he might have been able to win by like by getting Tribal Force Mage and bouncing it twice, as an example, right? Like, that's the thing. And I'm like, I don't think you should do that. And he's just like, what do you mean? I'm like, why don't you pick up? So he has a deranged hermit, but no squirrels, because like when he cast a deranged hermit, I stifled it. I'm like, pick up the deranged hermit, right? Replay the deranged hermit, pick up something else, get the Yavimaya Granger, put the mountain in play, pick the Yavimaya Granger up, discard it for anger, and you have a lethal line here, right? But like, I think a lot of players who don't, I don't know. I feel like, to me, I'm like, if I can do that line, I'm just going to do that line, right?
Yeah.
But like,
but
a lot of people are like getting to the sub game of the Nantuko Vigilante is the game for them.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
So this is a very classic scenario, right? Which is that like people miss lethal all the time, and the reason they miss lethal is like they're in a position where they're like looking at some kind of permanent, and they're like, this permanent's like really important. I need to get off the battlefield. So I think that the sub game framework is interesting here because it is indeed true most of the time that if your opponent puts like some kind of scary enchantment or artifact in play, removing it should be your first priority, right? And like it takes, I think it just takes knowing like some familiarity of your deck and like some reps and some critical thinking, like being able to play a match, look back in the match and be like, oh, I made the mistake of not just going for the throat, right? Not just playing for a lethal top deck, whatever. So I think that that's an interesting idea where the sub game ends up meaning that you don't pay attention to the whole game, right? It's like you missed the mate in 2 because you were too obsessed with capturing a pawn.
I think I've probably, that's probably cost me more qualifications in my life than anything else.
Right, just capturing a useless pawn. Yeah.
Well, no, I successfully identify and execute to the sub game, and I'm like, okay, the sub game was the game, but like my opponent gets to keep playing for 5 turns, and something might happen.
They draw out, yeah.
Well, so I posted that thing where I lost a slot to Andy Probosco. I won the PTQ the next week, but I lost a slot to specifically Andy Probosco, Brassman, on a Weathered Wayfarer play. But I was just like, everybody but Andy Levine is allowed to read this. And look, because Andy Levine is my teammate, it was a trios tournament. And I'm literally playing for 3 slots, not for 1. And I'm like, I got this. Because I'm just like, I got this. I can block his ink eyes. I'm just like, the advantage I'm getting from this Wayfarer is going to carry me through the game. And I literally said to myself, I cannot imagine how he wins from here.
Yeah, famous last words, yeah.
And he could imagine how he wins from there, right? And it was super close, right? Like games 2 and 3, he got like I can't even describe what he did because he like literally threaded incredibly narrow needles in order to win. I'm like so far ahead, I can't imagine losing, and he got both games.
It's kind of an interesting spot because it's easier to play when you're in check, right? It's harder to be the person, like when you can put your opponent in check, like you're advantaged, right? Because you're kind of like, oh, my next move, like I'm going to put this pressure on them. I'm always going to put them in a spot where they have to wriggle out of it. But then it's just like so easy where it's like, well, I can't do anything else but like not die in this spot. So you end up playing perfectly for the entire game. Yeah. Meanwhile, the person that's pressuring you is like blundering points left and right? Because they have endless options on like how they're going to win, and they end up choosing like the one suboptimal
I'm playing
line.
like mid-range The Rock, right, with like massive sources of card advantage, and he's playing mid-range combo. Yeah, and I'm like, and so I'm like, my sub game, I guess I would use that language, is like, I'm just up a ton.
Yeah, right?
I'm just up, and like we're mid-range deck against mid-range deck. Being up a ton is what you want.
Yeah, you're just trying to draw more cards.
He's like, I'm mid-range combo. I'm going for the 1-outer, and he just like went for the 1-outer. And he got there. You know,
this is why the card advantage. Religious fanatics need to like lay down, like need to see the light of day, see the god that is tempo, and like understand that just drawing a bunch of cards gets you nowhere in life. And the only thing that matters is your opponent's life total, maybe the number of cards left in their library, which ironically is when they accrue too much card advantage, you know, or whatever win condition you have. Because yeah, I think that like, you know, I'm just owning it now. Like, I don't need to understand control. Understanding control makes you a worse Magic player. Like, being the type of person who's just trying to win brownie points every turn, just trying to draw extra cards, just trying to, like, you know, destroy permanents, you know, try to control what your opponent is doing. It's like, I'd rather be the fox, you know, with the borders closing in that finds the one burrow that can escape.
So I was pretty sure I was going to play Burn. After thinking about it, for the main reason is that I could beat anybody or anything. Like if I'm on the play the whole top 8, even if I play against Dreadnought, I feel like I could win. You know, like that was kind of my thought process. And at this point, I think Madam is going to be either on a rock deck that all I've done in pre-modern for the last however many years I've been playing is beat the rock with Burn. And if he's on goblins, again, that's one of the good matchups you want, right? You know, like I haven't checked the duress crew data. I'm like, all right, Burn's advantage here, and I think I'm advantaged insofar that I think I'm a good Burn player, right? So I play Burn, and as I talked to Rich Shea, and he's like, I think you should play Enchantress, and I'm like, of course you do. I'm not playing fucking Enchantress. Thank God I didn't. And he's like, but if failing Enchantress is just points, all points allocated, you should play Burn. Here's my Burn deck. Rich Shea sends me a deck with 3 Goblin Patrols, but that's not the thing that I'm like super objecting to. He has 21 lands and 4 baubles. And I'm like, what is this? Like, his curve is so low because he has all these Goblin Patrols. Doesn't have any, he only has like 3 ball lightnings and stuff because he shaved them in order to accommodate 21 lands and 4 Urza's baubles. Like, maybe you could cut a bauble or a land. And I'm like, I could cut way more than 1 ball.
All the
yeah, I was like, but I'm like, I'm gonna play Burn anyway. And
Goblin Patrol is a 2-mana card.
Though. Yeah, I was like, I guess you need the mana for your fucking 2-drop that you play on turn 1. So
no, that's the thing is like you don't want to play it on turn 1. You want to play it on turn 2.
No, you want to play it on turn 1 as an alternative because you don't always have Puppy.
No, so, I understand. I'm just saying that.
Okay. Be honest with you, I never want to play that card. Okay. So anyway, like I'm not ripping on Rich. There's a reason I brought this up. Obviously, Rich is the GOAT. So he's just like, I'm like, well, why would we do this? This is crazy. I'm not playing all these fucking Urza's baubles and 21 lands, right? So I feel like I'm heavy. My deck has 22 lands, which is only 1 more than Rich, but I don't have 4 Urza's baubles, and I guess I have a land on my sideboard. Anyway, so he's just like, well, I applied the math that you and Lanny no longer like. He's like, I just wanted to maximize how many opening hands I could keep. And I'm thinking to myself, more Urza's baubles does not, to me, indicate more. I mean, like, brother, dude, these things are literally dice rolling. Like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm rolling a D6, a D20. I do not know. Am I at the roulette table?
This was my issue. Rich shared this in the Bougie Discord, and I was like, I think this sounds like just lowering the threshold of what you consider a keepable hand. Because, like, in this hypothetical scenario, you draw a hand, it's like Jackal Pup, Mountain, Incinerate, Ball Lightning, Grim Lavamancer,
Land Bauble,
something like that. It's like 5 action land bauble, and you're like, that's a keep. But if it's like 5
card hand, by the way,
if it's 5 action,
you're keeping a 6 card hand. I want everyone to understand. I have just kept a 6 card hand.
If it's 5 action land, like, I don't know, the card that you're playing instead of bauble. Like, granted, one of those 4 baubles is a land, right? So 75% of the baubles are like not lands.
Is already a mulligan.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we
So
have very low expectation of casting the ball lightning this game, and the incinerate is like half a card.
yeah, yeah,
So like this is
I mean,
this is
whatever. Use your imagination, right? Basically, any given like one lander with a one drop, you're like, oh, that's a lot more keepable with Bobble, which is true.
it is
But
more
then,
capable with
but then
Bobble.
if you,
I hesitate to apply the
but,
word lots.
but then if you keep that hand, like I don't know, half the time you lose on the spot, and again, 25% of the time at least, the Bobble was the land that you were going to put in your deck anyways. So like, how many theoretical points? So anyways, I was like, this just sounds like lowering your definition of
Anyway,
keepable hand.
I mulliganed a lot on Thursday, like way more than I usually do, because I usually never mulligan. And I mulliganed a lot of shitty openers, and they were mostly because I was like drawing like Sulfuric Vortex, Grim Lavamancer 5 land, right? Like it just
Oh, how many
unkeepable hands.
fetches? I'm in.
What?
How many fetches? I'm in.
I only have 4 fetches in my deck. That's
Sulfuric Vortex and Grim Lavamancer can deal 20 damage on its own. What more do you
I mean,
need?
I that was one of my hands against Mono Blue, so I did not keep that one. So anyway, I won that match. Second round, I played against Mono Blue in the hands of Brian. I won my match so fast, like I'm like walking around for 40 minutes. No one was even completed game 2 at the point where many were still in game 1.
Yeah, so you're in the round of 4, the semifinals.
So
Brian is playing Tide Control.
Yeah, and he's playing against Chris Cruz, who's playing full English breakfast. I'm looking around, and of the remaining decks, it's like SWB's down a game at this point. Sylvain is on Blue-White Dreadnought up a game against SWB, and then the other match is Bill Ellis is up a game, Dreadnought on Tide Control. So I look around, it's 2 Tide Control, 2 Dreadnought, Parfait, Oath, and Feb, and I'm like, of the remaining 6 decks, 5 are bad matchups. 3 are catastrophically bad matchups. So I'm like, well, this is how it's going to go. Chris was defeated by Brian on.
Well, that just proves that you did a horrible job metagaming then.
I didn't put Sylvain on Dreadnought for sure. And I didn't think SWB would like actually play his Parfait deck. I was just like this is a bit, that's
he suckered us. He was like very low key. He was like, I don't think the deck's like really good. I'm 8-0-1 with it, but
Yeah, he's 11-0-1 in the last 4 weeks with it. So anyway, I thought he'd play Enchantress, and I'm like, I really like my Enchantress matchup on the play, right? So I've got 6 enchantment hate after sideboarding. I have a good chance of winning any given game. Anyway, long story short, so I go into Brian. I win game 1. It was like I kept a terrible hand. It was just like Carplusan Forest, missed my second land drop, won game 1 anyway. Game 2, I did not side in any of my green cards because I was just like, this is not very good against Parallax Tide, and I wasn't sure how index people were going to be for red decks, because red decks are just I was the only one on a red deck, right? So I didn't think out index. And so he just plays a second turn. He was like, first turn, 4 spikes my Jackal Pup. Second turn, plays Chill. I almost won the game, but it took a long time. And I eventually, like, as you would, I eventually lost the game where I have no way to remove a Chill. I guess I had 1 red Elemental Blast in my deck, and he eventually won. Game 3, he's got a fast Chill again, but I've been I'm like not worried about it. I had plenty of land to operate this game, and so we go into like the deep mid game. He's at 5 life, and I have a Seal of Fire in play, right? And I have 2 cards in my hand, and I go to play my like 6th land. And instead of playing my 6th land, I accidentally put down a Fire Blast. So my hand was Mountain Fire Blast. And like Landy Ho's like standing there, and he's just like, uh-oh. And so Brian could easily have just cast Impulse there, like at the end of his turn, and then I just cook him, right? But he's just like, interesting. And I'm like, oh, well. So I played until I was at 1 life point. To like mathematically ensure that my Fire Blast, and my deck was not helping me, by the way, right? Like the rest of I'm at 9. I think I'm at 20 life at this point, and I drew 1 spell that could deal damage in the entire ensuing turns that he got me from 20 to 1. It was a Mog Fanatic, but like with the Seal of Fire in play, it's just like I can't let the Mog Fanatic resolve counterspell, so I'm like, okay, Fire Blast, Pyroblast, to finish the game when I was on one life. So I think that game would have been a lot shorter if I did not just mechanically put down the Fire. Again, this is like it's like anything. Anyone could make this mistake, right? Like you have two cards, you literally just put the wrong card down.
I will say, I will hand it to the rich Iron Lungs burn list. It is like definitely got cards that are much better against tight decks with the patrols and then sighting in cadets. Like the best way to beat a chill is to put 3/1 or 3/2/1s in play before the chill ever enters the battlefield.
Yeah, but dude, the games that you're on the play are very different than the games you're on the draw. He literally force faked my Jackal Pup and then played chill, right? Like that you're never gonna get any of your stupid Goblin Cadets in play in this game.
You can play. You can pay 3 mana for them.
Yeah, starting on turn 4, and then he's just gonna eat you with a. Then what are you gonna do? Like try to just get him with like a 2/1? He's gonna get you with Powder Keg. Like this deck has 4 Powder Kegs. There's 4 Powder Kegs. This is a terrible game strategy.
The interaction between the 2/1s and Powder Keg is like positive on the burn side. Like generally speaking, if you put the 2/1 into play, like it's going to be attacking, and you can just not expose multiple 2/1s of Powder Keg if that's your problem, right? So like just consider this from the burn side, right? If they have Powder Keg in play with 1 counter on it, you don't play the 2/1, right? But if you have a 2/1 in play and you play another 2/1, they cast a Powder Keg, then you just like get in, and your card's already like your first one's already paid itself, and the second one gets
20 damage through a chill. Like I'm not saying you can't win. I'm saying it is ludicrous to me that you would argue that this is a better strategy than just having Tranquil Domain and Naturalize in a deck that is otherwise full of excellent cards. Like instead of these garbagey cards, like a Mishra's Factory with a chill in play is really going to shit in your cereal here, right? Like you might get past the Mishra's Factory and you might not. And it might be incredibly costly to try to get through the Mishra's Factory with a Goblin Cadet. Especially if they're just like, I'll take a few points because you're not gonna. You can't take the big overload turn with a chill in play. You need to play a different way. You're not going to resolve.
Well, there's also no saying that you couldn't just play a deck with green removal and Goblin Cadet.
Okay, that is fair. Yeah. But your opening sentence was, in advocacy of the Iron Lungs rich deck.
Right? Yeah. Which but you're allowed to you're allowed to take the advantages of like multiple decks and like
I actually would argue you kind of can't do that because the green deck doesn't play Barbarian Ring, and I really miss Barbarian Ring. Barbarian Ring is an excellent card of which the Iron Lungs rich build has 4, which everyone should have been playing for a long time. Fair, right? But my deck doesn't have any, and I don't know that you could morph their deck into my deck without losing the...
It helps, yeah. It does help to have Barbarian Ring. That's like playing a deck with 4 more burn spells. So.
Yes, it is a very, very good card. Like, this is a big trade-off to the green build.
If you play Bobble, that's like having 4 more of anything.
Oh my god. Okay, let's move on. So I get to the finals. I'm watching the last game. It's a hard-fought match between... So Bill had won game 1 against SWB. So SWB I was in first seed, SWB was in second seed. Again, only because Jeff Ferris moved to Portland. And he loses the first game to Bill. So I'm literally cheering for Bill because I would rather play against Dreadnought, which I understand the matchup, than this Parfait Oath deck. But SWB gets there in 3. And he just gets me 2-0. I think this is like a pretty bad matchup, and he won the sideboard war pretty badly. So game 1, he plays. We both mulligan, but he mulligans into Mox Oath. So I'm going to put this in air quotes. I'm forced to get in for 3, and then Mog Fanatic my Jackal Pup. And in hindsight, I'm like, maybe I should have let him Oath, right? He has like a 50% chance of hitting Shard Phoenix and a 50% chance of hitting Ancestors Chosen. If he hits Shard Phoenix, I win. So like,
and sort of like a 5% chance of hitting Ancestors Chosen in like the top 4 cards of his deck.
Yeah, so if he hits Ancestors Chosen into the top 4 cards of his deck, like I'm not necessarily gonna like. It's pretty bad actually, right? So I got him to 4, right? He Gush Armageddon's the next turn after I attack and kill my own guy with Mog Fanatic. He Gush Armageddon's, right? And I have 2 cards in hand, and I incinerate blasts him in response, which puts him to 4, and we're just like kind of in this stalemate situation. If I'd gotten the 1 point of damage from Mog Fanatic, I would have won the game, right? Like, but like I'm basically just I can't get over the finish line. I'm about to start sequencing because I've been sandbagging lands and stuff, and he just hard casts an enormous Ancestral Shook, which I knew the race. I knew that was the race, right? Like I have to beat him before he can
tap 7. Yeah.
Yeah. But like here's the thing. SWB, I believe he portented me 7 times in this match. So he never portented himself. He just kept portenting me. So like, at one point he just puts 2 mountains and a Mog Fanatic on top of my deck. He like lets me draw 2 lands and then plays a Meddling Mage naming Mog Fanatic.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like so like game 1, that was really the only problem. I only decision I could have made differently. If I let him oath but if he oaths into Ancestral Chosen, I'm going to lose anyway, right? But I also can't know that he's just going to. The way the game evolved, he just portented me 1,000 times in game 1, and so I just never drew action. But 1 point would have been enough to win the game. The way it played out. Then in game 2, he beat me in the sideboarding. So I referred to his published deck lists because he'd been posting them on Blue Sky or whatever, and he had chill. So I was just like, we did a whole episode on this. Like, do you side out pups versus, respecting oath versus whatever? And I'm like, I think I have to play. So I'm going to leave in pups especially because I'm on the play. But the game plan is going to be bring in all of my tranquil domains, etc. Because if he has oath, and it's good to remove those in games that you have pups. But also he has chill in his published sideboarding, in published deck lists in his sideboard. SWB actually took out all of his chills because nobody's going to play red. And then he just took out every enchantment. So I still had live cards because, he has Ivory Tower and Mox and so forth. But
the Tranquil Domains are dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I drew 1 Tranquil Domain in that game. So it's not like the sideboarding beat me. He beat me I think he portented me 4 times in game 2. So basically he got, I'm winning. He had a really bad gush, where he returns 2 lands to gush and then just discards. But my clock is just 1 Grim Lavamancer, who I think he did like 11 damage or something. Like he was the little Grim Lavamancer that could. But I drew lands this game. I was just like, there was never a point in the game that I didn't have 2 lands in my hand. He eventually just beat me with elephant tokens. And it wasn't particularly close. Like I had a line. If
I don't for what it's worth, I don't see this as like a favored for the parfait deck post sideboard with no oaths, because like you're just literally describing Grotog with no chills post sideboard.
Yeah, so
he has 4 Meddling Mage and 3 Call the Herd after sideboard, and then the rest of the time he's a Gush Armageddon counterspell deck with Mox Diamonds.
So I mean he played it different, right? So I guess his own draws were naturally good enough that he could afford to portent me, right? Like that was really kind of the thing, and he just kept me off of action.
Yeah, I think this is like a high roll game from the parfait deck. Like SWB himself said that he wouldn't put parfait advantage. Certainly, like in game 1, it doesn't look particularly good because he's trying to lace like, if you just like put it down to raw interaction and raw card draw, like his card draw is Gush AK and I guess Scroll Rack, and then his interaction is 4 Plow.
I can't imagine he leaves Scroll Rack in. It's terrible.
Well, he's almost got too much to board out if he's going to board out oaths and whatever. But I'm just like saying, like in game 1, like this is like a blue-white control deck that doesn't have, like, I'm trying to think about an equivalent matchup, because I'm just saying like Burn typically is not scared of decks that have 5 counter spells, 8 card draw spells, and 4 Sword Splashers. That just sounds like a deck. That sounds like Terragon.
No. So, but like, he has like, so the Armageddon angle, especially Gush Armageddon's pretty good, and then the Gaia's Blessings make it infinite. He slows you down a lot. That's the thing. Obviously, he got a little fortunate in game 1 that he was able to Mox Oath off of a mulligan hand, right? Like that's a pretty narrow. He only has 3 oaths, right? So that's a pretty narrow parlay, and he got it, right? And if he doesn't get it, I mean, obviously I win if he doesn't have it, and I win if I just don't kill my own team, hoping that he's going to hit Shard Phoenix instead of Ancestor's Chosen. But he got it right, and that's a pretty fat part of the range. It's not like he hit like a
I would just say it's probably less than 50% though.
It's less than 50%, but he got it.
Because a lot has to. I still think a lot has to happen afterwards, right? Because you can also just draw burn spells. Like you can just draw a sulfuric vortex.
He warranted me 3 times.
I understand, but you're just adding more legs to his parlay. It's like, yeah, sure. If you like concoct like, but the thing is, like, you're saying that SWB is favored. I don't think he's favored.
I don't.
I would money match the burn side. Like I'd take the burn side in the money match, especially with Andy Levine as the pilot.
Like I think I played. I mean, I didn't have any goofs. Like I had a goof against Matt M in round 1. I accidentally put down my Fire Blast in against Brian in round 2. But outside of not gambling on the Mog Fanatic, my Jackal Pup, I think I played a near perfect match.
This is like my regular reminder that if you like play a perfect match and lose, you should just not be playing the deck that you're playing a perfect match with.
Well, no, I mean, other than he outside boarded me, right? I had a Tranquil Domain in my hand in game 2, and he didn't have any enchantments, right? Like that's an outside board. Like he took a line that could have punished him, and it didn't. Instead, it was a dramatic advantage. So I don't know, man. It got me to the finals. If I'd played, I don't think I would have been in a great spot against Tide Control with Replenish, for example.
Every day passes, and I start to think more and more that Reed Duke was actually the one who wrote How to Win a PTQ.
What do you mean?
Like, if you're not first, you're last. This is the Smite Colony Creed. SWB is going to be the new co-host.
All right.
Bye. Our only acceptable, and I won't do this to anyone else because I'm very gracious with our listeners. You know, like I'm very proud of everyone for top 8ing. But for you specifically, Michael J, and I expect you to treat me in exactly the same way. The only acceptable outcome from a Magic the Gathering tournament is first place, and the only thing that you can say
it was an acceptable outcome.
The only thing you're allowed to tell yourself afterwards is not I played a perfect match, I got outplayed, it's like whatever. The only thing that you can think is reconsidering every single decision that you made until you can identify the exact thing that you did that made it so that you did not wake up that day with the heart of the champion, with the laser focus on the grand prize that was righteously yours. That is the only acceptable attitude.
Given the information I had, I'm pretty happy with my 75.
No,
I'm really happy with.
You need to read this article again. There's none of this like, well, I didn't pick up the qualification, but luckily I did everything I possibly could to take home half a booster box, and you know what? I'm going to open these boosters, and maybe there's going to be a foil Sensei's Dividing Top in it. And I'm going to go home, and I'm going to be like, look at my foil Sensei's Dividing Top while SWB is crushing the Pro Tour. And I'm going to be like, yep, I did everything I could. Come on!
I don't know how to answer that. I don't think I could have done any better.
No!
What happened?
No! You could have done better. You could have played a different deck. Well, one of the things
what deck would have been in a better situation? I don't think I would have gotten out of the quarters with half the decks.
One of the things is like, first of all, Esper Bob's crushes the entire metagame, but we'll put that aside.
I'm not playing Esper Bobs. By the way, you don't even have Bob in your Esper Bobs deck.
One thing is like you know that this is something that you are capable of fixing, which is like and this is helpful to our listeners because our listeners experience this all the time. Like you have like extreme like lack of clarity for deck selection, and you are like unable to remove the bias that you have towards the burn deck, right? So you make your spreadsheet, you're like, this is all the decks that people could play. And for some reason, there's like Oath in like 10 cells of this spreadsheet. Like everyone has like an Oath deck in their range, and it just like, I'm just like, you should probably just play Replenish. And you're standing by like this idea that Replenish, I don't know, somehow wouldn't be good against like a mono Oath metagame. Now, granted, you don't play an Oath deck until the finals. There's like, you know, Brian throws a wrench in your play. Like people play different decks than what you expect. But like, I would be like more gracious of a like, oh, like, I did really good preparation. I played Replenish because I knew people were playing Oath. When people ended up not playing Oath, I still was able to like rely on Replenish. Like, okay, so sure, you would want to take your Replenish with 4 Sabos web sideboard or whatever BS that you want to do to make sure that you never lose to Quiet Spec Oath, Terravore Oath, and Parfait Oath, like whatever like tech that you need. So you do that. And then you go into the first round and you play against Pit Rack and you're like, okay, that's fine because that's still like, a decent matchup.
I just cast a Factor Fiction, got you.
Exactly. The thing that you do is, and you've had a habit of doing since at least 2023, right? But probably for longer than that, is like your mind is too much chaos. You don't organize it. And then you just end up playing burn. And like, granted, it's not like it's impossible to consider all of the possible things that you can play and still decide that you're going to play burn. But like, you make it very difficult for, your allies and testing partners to be like, I think Mike just decides that he wants to play burn. And then once again, math is dead. Like afterwards, just like justifies it. Like, oh, I made all the right choices. It's like the perfect deck pick.
Vibes.
It got me to the finals. And
It did get me to the finals. Vibes.
I only lost the finals because, SWB, like, finds the 40%er. This is how I would frame it. I would just be like, all right. Like,
he did describe his deck as Groatog, in which case, I mean, I feel like if it's Groatog, I have like a 75-25. Right?
So my only, like, I will give you the grace that is like, I do think that burn is just a favored deck against SWB's deck. And I think that like the likely outcome, if you were to run it back, is probably victory. I don't think it's like a nice clean victory. I think one of the problems that you pointed out is that burn can conceivably lose to Pit Rack, and like not in like a 30% our way. It's just like, oh, the way you described it is like, oh, if they have Rack and Chain of Smog, I actually can't win. Like that doesn't seem like
it's not like it, but it's very, very tough.
That doesn't seem that's not a high enough bar, right, for like an opponent of like a powerful Magic the Gathering player to like need to jump through. Like your opponent lacing together the Rack and Chain of Smog definitely would lead me to be like, I'm gonna mulligan my deck, right? I want a deck that can win off 5 cards and a 7-turn clock. Like I can do it. So
who beats Pit Rack with 5 cards? Like I don't know, man. This isn't like you. In your universe,
I don't know. Devourer,
like your opponent never.
Devourer combo is like a good answer.
Rand told me to just play Devourer.
Ironically, burn is like an excellent answer to this. Like you said, any deck that can cast 1 Factor Fiction ever, right? Even Doctrine Surf and Surf is like when we played it, especially in the pitless version of the Pit Rack. Like,
dude, how are you're never gonna just make a 12/12 and have 1,000 ways to kill one. In
so
game
well, that's actually an overestimation of the amount of removal in the black deck. Like, I would like to remind everybody that the best that these decks can do against Dreadnought is play like a lot of Smother and some Snuff Out, but most decks don't show up with like 4 Snuff, or like, I don't know, 2 Snuff Out, 4 Smother, and a Diabolic Edict. Most of them just show up with like 2 Smother, 1 Vendetta, or 2 Smother, 1 Snuff Out in game 1. Like they have more discard spells than they have removal spells.
Matt had Snuff Out, Smother, and Diabolic, and like 3 Diabolic Edict after sideboarding.
Yeah, I mean, after sideboarding is like a different game, but you are actually allowed to play the we tested this at SWB's house, and granted it's the pitless version, so things do kind of shift around.
I don't think he had pit. He didn't cast it against me anyway.
If he didn't have pit, then it's actually like sort of trivially easy for the Dreadnought player to like Flash of Insight their way to victory. But setting all that aside, like there's that. There's also like the burn versus Blue Tide matchup, and granted, if like the Blue Tide player is like cheating on their chills for Essence Flares and they're following the trends these days, maybe you kind of turn that back into a favored matchup. I think
I was favored just because I was in the play, right? So because it's like I think it is favor. It is. I played this matchup probably more than anybody on Earth because Andy Levine exists, right? So I played that matchup a ton at Andy's house before LobsterCon 2 years ago, right? That we ended up playing in the first round, and I somehow got it, even though Andy beat me in playtesting like 85% of the time. And I think that being on the play and, like you're saying, maybe recent trends are going to lower or just top 8 metagaming, right, are going to remove some red cards from blue sideboards. I think I could win that. I think I probably am more than half the time.
Yeah, but that's like you're setting the bar at more than half, right? So you're like, first of all, on the play edge, right, is at the maximum, probably like 5%. It's not, it is not the same as having like deck advantage. Like you'd rather have deck advantage on the draw than like an even matchup on the play, because deck advantage can get you 10 or 15%. And again, vibe numbers here, but like, there are some decks that you can play. Like, I don't know, maybe things have changed since the last time I looked at or experienced this matchup, but like Enchantress versus both mono black and mono blue is just like, I think it's just very, very good. Like, I think
Enchantress versus mono blue is a blowout in favor of Enchantress.
Yeah, I think it's really good against mono black too. Like, if they if they lace together the Plague Spitter for Argothian, like things are, and like if they go like duress your Enchantress's presence and Plague Spitter your Argothian, like you're in some amount of trouble. But like your Sylvan Library Mirror's Guile, like
I was gonna say they still might not beat turn 1.
Yeah.
Like,
so like then take that, and then you're just like playing Enchantress against SWB, right? And what's he trying to do? He's just trying to like oath into Shard Phoenix to kill like one Argothian at a time, when you can like seal cleansing his entire deck and replenish his entire deck. And like also he still has islands, and so you can like Xantid Swarm him out, or Carpet of Flowers is out, like whatever, pick your poison, right? If he Armageddons, you can just like sandbag a Serra Sanctum and an Exploration or whatever and rebuild. Like, I think that you mentioned it earlier.
Enchantress was the way
Enchantress would have been an excellent choice, and your answer to Rich saying you should play Enchantress is, I'm not going to play Enchantress. And I think that the thought process should have at least been like, I should consider playing Enchantress, right? I should consider playing Phyrexian Dreadnought combo, Enchantress, Replenish, and Esper Bobs. These are all amazing choices.
Esper Bobs is just the untapperless elves of October 2025. I think you should play untapperless elves. Let me tell you about SkyShroudPoacher.com. This is my new website.
Oh yeah,
we put 3 mana in and tap a 4-drop, and out comes, I don't know.
We'll revisit. We'll revisit this We'll revisit this conversation.
Might search up another card. Might just draw another card.
Okay,
but SkyShroudPoacher.com is the new. It's the new hotness. But you would never untap it, even though that you might get an additional advantage, because this is untapperless elves. Just kidding. We have one of each kind of untapper, one of which you could get with the Skyshroud Poacher, which you would then untap and then get another elf.
Yes. So we'll check in October of 2026 on both untapperless elves, which I will remind you has become the preeminent elves deck of the format.
With no untappers.
It top aided Euro champs with the extremely disciplined add of Orcish Settlers. An unbelievable addition to the deck. Shout out to Frank Rafellos. I don't know your real name. I just know your online name. It's now being called Cradle Control. Untapperless Elves is a horrible name, so I accept Cradle Control.
That's some bullshit, although I do own one Kesa.
Yeah, so there you go. Secondly, even if you're like, okay, like I understand, like, Esper Bobs, not everybody sees the light, but even if you remove Esper Bobs, like considering playing Replenish, Dreadnought, or Enchantress, like even at equal weights to like Red Green Burn, like these are also decks that are really good on the play. Like these are also decks that get their plus 5% against the play on the play, but they also just start 15% against the field, right? They just start their not 15% against the field, but they'll be like, they are between 55 and like 58% win rate decks. And you're going to take all the points that you need if you're a believer in math. But if you're a believer in vibes, you're just like, okay, well, these are just like powerful decks. And like, granted, somebody can mono hate you out. But like, at the end of the day, if you're looking back on your tournament and you're like, I played all my games perfectly and I chose a really powerful deck, you're going to get less criticism from your podcast co-hosts in that case. Like, I don't know, man. My podcast co-host once criticized me to the ground in a tournament that I won.
Like, I literally won the tournament, defeated him in the top 8, and I still took flack for playing Burn.
I don't know. That tournament was like 20 people, so whatever. In any case,
this tournament's 8 people.
In any case, well, this tournament is like 8 plus, 50, right? So it's kind of
yeah. Obviously, this is like
there's like a signed playmat involved. It's like actually pretty sick.
I got the
and there's a season pass, which is
no, there's no season pass. We just got cash.
Okay, that's good too.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, SWB got 100. I got 50. I would have taken the library if I had first pick. He took the bazaar, and I got the library anyway. So, I guess it's my new playmat. You won't be able to criticize me for putting my cards in the wrong side of my deck zone or whatever, because I guess this will be my new playmat.
MTRV.
And obviously, all that matters is the bragging rights, which I did not obtain. Please don't take anything that I said as anything other than I did not get the bragging rights, which is all I care about. Okay.
Yes. So thank you. That is. But you have to give me more shit too. Like it goes both ways, right? Like the only objective here is winning tournaments. Faster.
I don't understand. This is what I don't understand about you. I've never seen any motherfucker draw more than you or go to time.
I don't draw. I go to time. I go to time all the time.
Veritable concession, right? Like you're just constantly going to time, and you're just like, you waste time by table shuffling. I'm done first every round. I'm playing against fucking time control, and I'm still done first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but then you could just be done even quicker. Or if you're playing against me,
why do I need to be done quicker?
Because your opponent might be me.
I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
How did I waste time if my opponent is you?
Look, it's not my fault they didn't design cards that could win games in this format, okay? Like, when I play on Magic Online and we have match timers, I typically am, like, 3 minutes ahead of my opponent. So, like, this isn't, like, and I'm talking about all my plays. Like, I'm doing my YouTube recording. I'm talking through all my plays, and I'm typically, like, 2 or 3 minutes ahead on match timer. Now, that's not always the case. Like, sometimes freaking tapping Weathered Wayfarer and looking for a land every turn is just like a giant pain in the ass. Also, a really fun thing to do in Magic Online is like putting a Psychotog at 12 power. That takes like an hour for you to exile your entire graveyard, and then your opponent's like, okay, well, I'll Vision Charm my Dreadnought, and you're like, cool, now I have to do this again next turn. It's like the sense of taking all the time in the world.
So here's the thing I want to leave us with. The ultimate flex is obviously Lan, wins League One, never uses a single free entry.
Did not cash in, yeah.
Does not show up until the league finals of season 2 to do coverage. So it's just like has a notebook. He's writing down everybody's plays. So I win my round 1 really fast. Like I said, the other matches were all still going on. There's 6 people still playing. He looks around. He looks at me. He's like, your deck choice was pretty bad for tonight. And I was just like, I think I could. We'll see what I'll use. He's like, should have just played Stompy. And I mean, he's not wrong. There were a lot of decks that Stompy was going to feast on, but
except for SWB,
I would have lost.
You would have died so hard to SWB.
I beat SWB in one. We played Stompy versus Oath Parfait 2 weeks ago, and I got game 2. He was just like, wow, you played really well to get game 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't get them. I didn't need to win, right? Like we weren't really playing for position so hard at that point. It would have been better for me if I'd won, obviously. But he's like, this is a catastrophically bad matchup for you, and you want a sideboard game. I won a sideboard game, by the way, that I Tranquil Domained away my own Hidden Gibbons twice that game. You got to do what you got to
do. Yeah. Maybe like the thing we said where it's like easier to be the person who's in check. That's just like you. You just rather play from behind than ahead. And so like every time you win, you feel like a freaking genius. And every time you lose, you're like, oh, well, I was behind to start with. And instead, like truly the best thing that you can do for your Magic game is to just be the player that's ahead. Just like be the player with the Argothian Enchantress in play. Be the player with the 12/12 in play. Just like let your opponent figure this shit out.
I gotta say, I did play Dreadnought once, and I
306 you did lose a game.
It wasn't close. Look, I got everybody 2-0.
Yeah, basically
including Enchantress.
The problem with that Dreadnought night was that you were like using it to run recon interference when you should have actually just been playing it straight. Just like no bluffs. Just like, yeah. That's what SWB did. He plays one deck for 4 weeks straight. And it's like, guys.
I just didn't think he would really do it. I mean, seriously, Lanny, if you're in my position, do you think he would have done it? Like,
no, I wouldn't. I would like assign it like some weight, but I would expect
not
that,
0.
Yeah, I would expect that like it would just be like a little.
I thought he was going to play Enchantress.
I don't think that he would like necessarily. I would like be like, oh, this is like he's like quiet. I would think this. I was like he's working on the Spec Oath deck in the background, to just like be a little bit different.
Spec Oath.
Or like.
A great matchup for Burn.
Or like maybe he just like has like a Terrageddon variant that he's cooking. Like I kind of, if I was me in the playoffs, and thank God I'm not in the position of getting roasted for getting second place in the playoffs because I didn't even play. I would be like, oh, like SWB is gonna kind of do something good, like good, fun, and interesting. Like he switched into that blue-white tide deck. The last time it was a deck that we'd seen him play, but it was like definitely not.
Rich got him dead.
I mean, if he goes basic island go, you're like he could be playing any deck at this point, right? So he still has a few turns of surprise.
So here's my thought. I think maybe I won't play as hard in the Swiss this season, so I think part of my problem, I'm putting this in air quotes, is that I've been in first place out of the Swiss every season, and that like I'm overvaluing the on the play like as part of my deck choice algorithm, because I really wanted to play Terrageddon, and I'm like, but Terrageddon is the worst deck to play if you win the roll every round. Like, I'm not going to just choose to go second. That's stupid, right? But I'm like literally just hemorrhaging the advantage that I have from
yeah, I also think that you just like salivate at the idea of being Burn on the play, but like you're kind of overlooking the part that's like Burn needs to play. Burn like has to be on the play. Like if you're playing these other decks, you can be on the play or draw. And guess what? If you play 3 games, you're gonna be on the play and the draw, right?
I think I played something like 5 turn 1 Jackal Pups. I mean, my hands sucked. Like they were often a turn 1 Jackal Pup from a 5-card hand.
Yeah, let me tell you about like
I played a lot of them.
Turn 1 Portent into turn 2 Ship. Like that's better. That's a lot better. But we're gonna have to wrap it up here. This has been the Spike Colony podcast. We're gonna try to keep our release cadence up. I think it's just been a little bit of phone tag. Mike's been enjoying his weekends too much, as have I. But we still have plenty of Esper Bob related content to share with you. So
you're such a liar. There are no Bobs in Esper Bob.
There's more where that came from.
If you glue 2 or 3 cards together, you get 1 Bob.
Yeah. I mean, you get more than 1 Bob because you don't pay life. So it's kind of like 0.75 plus 0.75 is equal to 1.5. And look, 0.75 of a Bob is like pretty good and pre-modern. So love Spike Colony.
Love Mike.
Game over.